Welcome to the second of two Zoom screen share recordings that the TEA is providing LEAs for assistance in filling out the costs associated with Winter Storm Uri, as well as the application for disaster aid assistance related to Winter Storm Uri. In this video, we're going to go over the application itself, how to fill it out. I'm not going to go over too much of the general wording. You can read that for yourself. It's to your benefit to read through all of the guidance, the application process, eligibility, reporting requirements, finality of reward decisions, and timeline and reporting before you fill out the cost spreadsheet. So go over everything with a pretty close eye to what's allowable and the timeline, etc. And if you have any additional questions, you can always look up the Texas Education Code, section 48.261, and get more information there. So let's go down to the actual second page where you're actually going to start filling out your information. So first, you'll want to fill out your district name. We'll go with Holiday ISD since that's the district that I chose as the first on the list for the cost spreadsheet. Then next, we'll fill in the CDN 0059202. That's close. I think that's it. And the address, let's fill that it's in. I'm just going to make something up. Road. Be sure and put your entire address, your contact name. So we'll go with and then john.doe for email address. Pay attention to this page especially as well, because it's going to tell you even more information that you need to be prepared to send when you email this to us at the TEA, including to complete and submit your spreadsheet provided, along with your reporting documentation, which would include invoices, expenses, expense reports, what have you, to prove the actual expenses. We also define disaster remediation costs, or those incurred by a school district or open enrollment charter school for replacing school facilities, equipment, including but not limited to the cost to repair or replace vehicles or computers damaged in the disaster, and supplies needed to provide instruction at a location where students eligible for FSP funding regularly attend classes. So paid disaster remediation costs are those that are paid or remitted, resulting in an outflow of cash in exchange for goods or services, evidenced by an invoice, receipt, voucher, or other such document, and in accordance with standards found in the Financial Accountability System Resource Guide, adopted by reference in section 109.41 of this title relating to financial accountability resource guide, and TEC section 48.261, that the school district or open enrollment charter school does not anticipate recovering through insurance proceeds, federal disaster relief payment, or another similar source of reimbursement in accordance with TEC section 48.261, and they were paid during the 2-year period following the governor's initial proclamation or executive order declaring a state of disaster. So hopefully you've already watched the costs associated with disaster reporting spreadsheet that that we provided a link to. And you'll have the information that you need to fill out the total costs the school district or charter school is seeking for reimbursement from the cost spreadsheet. So let's say that it was $1,000. That's the total cost that we're seeking for Holiday ISD. And you just type in your number. It will only take numeric characters. And then you can go down and see that this is really pretty much it. This is all the numbers you're going to be putting in this application. The reason why we separated these two things is that It's much more difficult. We found during the Hurricane Harvey disaster reimbursement process that trying to get signatures on an Excel spreadsheet was rather difficult. Required a lot more, printing and signing and other things. So we decided to make this so that when you fill out this form, this application, you're actually going to sign this by your school president and your superintendent. School board president, sorry. And then that will allow you to certify that you're sending in this application, you're sending in this cost spreadsheet with your supporting documentation. Therefore, this is certified. So I acknowledge that all paid disaster remediation costs for which the school district or charter school is seeking reimbursement qualifies as paid disaster remediation costs, and that the school district or charter school does not anticipate recovering these payments through insurance proceeds, federal disaster relief payments, or another similar source of reimbursement, and will continue to make efforts to seek reimbursement as allowable or appropriate. I also acknowledge that the school district or charter school shall maintain all documents supporting the information supplied in this application for the purpose of any future inquiries or audits, and that the school district or charter school is subject to an audit by the TEA until 2 years after the school district or charter school certifies to the TEA in writing that the disaster is finalized and closed. So once you enter that information, you'll click on your school board president or a designee. If the school board president is not available, another designee on the school board can sign this through Adobe Acrobat. So you would click on that, you'll sign it, get your date. We provided you a drop down so you can say it up December 2nd. And then you get your superintendent to sign it as well. Also, same thing, provide the date. We've got the drop down. And it will not lock the cells. And you'll be able to email this from person to person, whoever's signing. And that way we will have a documentation that states that your school district officials have certified that these documents are true and correct. So then once you get that, you'll want to remit this via email to FSP disaster remediation at tea.texas.gov. Be sure to include your district name and CDN in the subject line. And if you have trouble, which hopefully you won't, if you have trouble getting this to work at your district or charter school, you can print, sign, and copy /email or use electronic link below. And so what will happen is once we click on this, and by the way, include costs associated with disaster relief application and any related invoices, expense reports, electricity payments, etc. So once I click this, it's going to ask me what email application I want to use. So I want to try and use Microsoft Outlook. Continue. And as you see, it's already got the FSP disaster remediation email address in the to line. And in the subject line, you'll see it says Winter Storm Uri, CDN : space and LEA : space. This is where you'll put in your CDN and LEA name. Put it in both the subject and the body. So 009922. Okay, well, it's 6 digits, as we all know. And LEA is holiday ISD. Okay, so let's do the same thing here. LEA ISD. And you'll see that it gives you this default wording, the test files, the filled out form. Please open it to review the data. You can delete that if you want. You can add your own, subject matter, body and text into this email if you prefer. If you've got any kind of tips for us, that you need us to see. If you want to point something out, that's where you can do that. So then, before you send this, you want to attach your costs associated with the disaster reimbursement. So in Outlook, as long as you've got the message open like this, you can go up here to attach file. And that will allow you to, if you've already previously filled out that form, the costs associated with disaster relief spreadsheet, it should be listed in your most recent document. So you can just click it, the next document that shows on your drop-down list, and put that in there. If not, you can do it the old-fashioned way and go and find it, pull it in, however you want to do it. But this is what we want to see. We want both the application and the cost spreadsheet in the same email. We want your CDN number, your LEA name, and in both the subject and the body of the email. Once you do that, make sure everything is ready to go, click send, and it'll get to us, and we will review it, approve it or not approve it. We may get in contact with you for additional questions. Please be sure to check the FAQ, which you'll find a link to in the TAA as well. Do that, on a fairly regular basis, maybe once a day, maybe twice a day, depends on how things are going. And, if we're getting a lot of an influx of emails or phone calls, we'll update that more regularly, but likely we will keep it, updated at least once a day, if not more. So please do that. I don't believe that there's anything else that I need to say on this. Like I said in the last video, we put a lot of work into this to make sure that everything's gonna jive well with what we need to see. So we'll have all of the documentation that we need. Go ahead and attach your invoices to this if you have them, your expense reports as well. Anything that you think we might need to be able to review and approve your costs for reimbursement. So then click send, and it will come to our shared inbox, and we will review and approve it. I can't think of anything else. So have a good day.